India is all set to submit its updated nationally determined contribution or its climate targets. So in this session, we are going to look at the achievement of our previous targets and also understand what do the new targets for India look like. Hello everyone, welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nandkyolier. Let's get started. So India has approved its updated nationally determined contribution or NDC for a time period of 2031 to 2035. Now what do we understand by NDC? NDC is basically our climate target. Climate target. So all the countries who are signatories to the Paris Agreement have to submit their nationally determined contribution or their climate targets to the UNFCCC Secretariat every 5 years. Now what is the Paris Agreement? Paris Agreement of 2015 basically said that all the countries will have to work collaboratively to maintain the global temperature rise, the average global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius and ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius pre-industrial levels. So in order to achieve this, all the countries, all the signatories have to keep sending in their own personalized climate targets for their country every 5 years to the Secretariat. And right now we are looking at NDC 3.0, the third round of NDC. The current is the second round, which is going to end in 2030. So it was 2025 to 2030. And the countries have to submit their targets well in advance. So they are submitting the new ones for the third round, 2031 to 2035. Now, how are these targets determined? How do we understand what target should we have? So two things happen. First of all, we will look at the achievement of the previous targets. We'll understand what were we able to achieve, what were the gaps. Based on that, we are going to create new targets for us. And secondly, we also look at the global stock take. Global stock take, which is a collective report card. It is a report card, a climate report card. Climate report card. Now, I told you that all the signatories have to submit their nationally determined contribution. So when they do that, this global stock take is actually like a climate report card, which is going to tell us what is the collective performance of all these countries in achieving the target of the Paris Agreement. How are the countries doing? Are they faring well or not? What are the gaps? So this is like a report card which tells us that these targets that the countries are making, are they able to achieve it or not? Is it enough or not? Do we need to do more or not? So we have to take in inputs from the global stock take also. This happened in 2023. So we have to take inputs from here also. We have to look at our individual performance also, the achievements that we made in the previous targets in the previous round, and then we come up with a new set of targets. So if we talk of the achievements first, and then we'll look at the targets. So if we talk of the achievements, India achieved the emission intensity of GDP reduction by 36%. Now, what do you understand by emission intensity of GDP? Emissions intensity of GDP is basically how much emission of greenhouse gases are we making when we produce 1 unit of GDP. Basically, how much pollution is our economy generating? So whenever we produce an output, how much emission of greenhouse gas are we making? So ideally, it should be what? It should be low. The emissions intensity of GDP for any economy, ideally, it should be low. Our economy should not be polluting the environment. So here we had a target of a reduction of 33 to 35% by 2030. 2030 is when the second round is ending. So we had a target of 33 to 35% reduction. And what did we achieve? 36% reduction. We overachieved our target. And not just that, we achieved it well ahead of time. 11 years before the completion timeline. So this is a great achievement that we were able to reduce our emissions intensity of GDP by 36%, 11 years ahead of our timeline. Next, we have a generation capacity of 52.57% electricity generation capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. Non-fossil fuel sources like renewable energy and nuclear energy. So we already have achieved 52.57% of electricity capacity. Our target was 40%. 40% by same 2030. How much did we achieve? 52.57%. Overachievement, and again well ahead of time. 9 years before the completion timeline. Again a great achievement for India. And then we created a carbon sink of 2.29 billion tons CO2. Carbon sink meaning we increased our tree and forest cover. Tree and forest cover. Because these are the carbon sinks, they absorb CO2. So this helps us in carbon sequestration. So basically we were able to increase our tree and forest cover. In fact, if we look at some important reports over here, some data over here. So the report of FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, this tells us that India ranks third. India ranks third when it comes to net gain in forest area. Globally, India ranks third when it comes to net gain in forest area thanks to our reforestation drives. And we rank 9th in terms of area under forest. Net area under forest. We are 9th globally. So this tells us that we are working hard to increase our afforestation, to increase our tree and forest cover, and that is paying us well. So we have been able to increase, or we have been able to create a carbon sink of 2.29 billion tons of CO2. So this is certain achievement. These are the achievements that we've already made. Now keeping in mind these achievements, we have come up with more ambitious targets. Targets like we have to achieve a 47% reduction in emissions intensity by 2035. Already achieved 36%. Now we want to move to 47%. And why do we want to do all of this? Why do we have these targets? Because we have broader goals of becoming Viksit Bharat, or a fully developed nation by 2047, 100 years of independence. We want to become Viksit Bharat, and not just economically, like we just don't want to increase our per capita income. We want to do all of that, increase our economy size, per capita income, everything. But we want to do all of that in an environment friendly manner, in a sustainable manner, in an eco-friendly manner. So Viksit Bharat goal is also our major goal over here. Keeping this in mind, we are determining our targets. And we also want to achieve, we want to go net zero by 2070. This is our target. So that's why we are working on this emission reduction target, increasing the carbon sink, etc., keeping these broader visions that we have for our country in mind. Next, we have to increase the share of non-fossil energy installed capacity to 60%. We've already achieved what? Some 52%. Now we want to increase it to 60% by 2035. And we want to increase our carbon sink to 3.5 to 4 billion tons. Right now, somewhere around 2.29 billion tons. Now we want to increase it to 3.5 to 4 billion tons of CO2. These are some important targets that we have for our third round of NDCs that we are going to submit to the UNFCCC Secretariat very soon. Now, in order to understand how will we achieve this and how did we achieve what we already did, we need to understand some initiatives that the government has taken, and how does it entirely work when we submit the NDCs. How do they work? So we have something that's called NAPCC or National Action Plan on Climate Change. This has some 9 missions, 9 national missions, like the National Solar Mission, National Water Mission, etc. Now, Sustainable Agriculture Mission. So we have some 9 national missions, because we have our climate targets. We have to achieve a lot of things, and for that we have to work in a lot of domains. So we have these national missions which are the NAPCC, which are under NAPCC. Nationally we have this, and then we also have SAPCC. SAPCC, State Action Plan on Climate Change, which is for the states. Now states and the union, they do not work in isolation, they ideally work in collaboration. So the state targets also that we have, states also have these different targets of achieving this much solar installed capacity, generating this much electricity from non-fossil fuel, etc., increasing the forest cover to this much level. States also have these targets, the nation also has these targets, and these targets are in collaboration with each other so that we are able to achieve the final NDC, the ultimate NDC that we have for India. So they work in collaboration. We have this, and then we have certain missions, certain initiatives that the government of India keeps on taking. For example, we have some schemes like PM Surya Ghar Yojana, Muft Bijli Yojana, we have PM Kusum, then we have the Green Hydrogen Mission, where we are producing green hydrogen, which is produced by the electrolysis of water. And this electricity comes in from renewable sources. So we have green hydrogen mission. We have some international missions also. International missions like India-led missions, International Solar Alliance. We have International Solar Alliance. We have CDRI. We have Global Biofuel Alliance. Now, biofuel is gaining more and more traction these days. And what is biofuel? Biofuel is something that is not generated from fossil fuels. It is majorly generated from crops, agricultural residue, or organic residue. For example, ethanol. We have ethanol blending program in our petrol also. So these are some international initiatives as well that are led by India. Then of course India has its own national initiatives, states have their own initiatives. All these things are working together to help us achieve the targets that we have under NDC. So that was all for this discussion. I hope you were able to get a wholesome view of how NDCs work, how are they created, and what is India doing at the moment. Now we look at a practice question for prelims. And before we do that, very quickly, let me tell you that today is the last day of our Selection Mahotsav sale. Selection Mahotsav sale, where you're going to get up to 50% off on all our online courses, pen drive courses and test series, and a 25% off on books, TLP and magazine. So today is the last date. It's valid only till 26th of March. For any more information, please call us at 87501. And you can also download the Drishti Learning app. Now let's look at a practice question for prelims. Consider the following statements regarding India's updated nationally determined contribution for 2031-35. 1. India aims to achieve 47% reduction in emissions intensity of GDP by 2035 from 2005 level. 2. The country plans to increase non-fossil fuel power capacity to 60% by 2035. Choose the correct statements. A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question and provide your answers in the comment section. Thank you for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.